This is ABC 7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. Topping our news tonight, it has been an extraordinary day in the U.S. House of Representatives. Frustrated about Congress's lack of any action in the wake of the deadliest mass shooting in the nation's history last week in Orlando, Democratic members of Congress have begun a good old-fashioned sit-in. House Speaker Paul Ryan has cut the TV feed, so the Democrats are using a cell phone app, Periscope, to get their message out. Georgia Congressman John Lewis, a civil rights icon, is leading a sit-in on the House floor to push Republicans to address gun violence. Democrats say they will sit in on the House floor until Speaker Ryan allows a vote on gun control. The move follows a long string of failed attempts at enacting extended background checks and blocking gun purchases for those already on the terror watch list.
We have to occupy the floor of the House until there's action.
Rise up, Democrats. Rise up, Americans. This cannot stand. We will occupy this floor. We will no longer be denied a right to vote.
The Republican chair adjourned the session, cutting the C-SPAN video and audio feed as the signal went to black. We reached out to our Congressman Vern Buchanan to get his reaction to the sit-in, but we never heard back. But Florida Senator Bill Nelson is joining the debate. The Democratic senator voted for bills this week seeking to crack down on gun sales in a variety of ways, including denying guns to people who are no longer on the terror watch list and expanding background checks to include private and internet sales.
I owe this to the people of Orlando. They want action. I'd have people come up to me just enveloped in tears and grab me and hug me and say, please, Senator, do something. I owe this to them.
7 states currently have some form of a ban on semi-automatic weapons. Nelson says the death count from last week's nightclub shooting in Orlando was likely so high because the killer had a weapon that could fire rounds in rapid succession. And one Republican congressional candidate in Florida has come up with this bright idea. Greg Evers announced he is giving away a semi-automatic rifle. The custom-built AR-15 is similar to the one used by Orlando gunman Omar Martin. Evers made the announcement on his Facebook page. Facebook took down the post, but entries have been saved and the contest is still on. I don't know hate is the right word. Senator Marco Rubio once said that about his job in the U.S. Senate. He was barely there during his run for the White House. He vowed he would leave the Senate after his presidential campaign came to an end. So today, Rubio announced he's running for another term. The senator's announcement marks a 180-degree turn from where he was just a month ago when he insisted he would give up his Senate seat at the end of his term. Many Republican colleagues encouraged Rubio to run, believing he is the party's best chance to keep the seat. Not so, says one of the Democrats vying to replace him.
I think it's shocking that anybody who is that incompetent, if I may use that term, as a legislator, would be considered for an extension on his contract, much less a promotion to the presidency.
Grayson filed his paperwork to officially become a Democratic candidate for the U.S. Senate yesterday. New developments now in the search for a Sarasota family missing in the Gulf of Mexico. The Coast Guard has found a body this afternoon within the search area. A father and his 3 teenage kids were last seen Sunday morning leaving Sarasota heading for Fort Myers. The Coast Guard is not saying which of the 4 family members they have believed to have found. The family lived on the sailboat for more than a year and headed south Sunday to repair the boat. The father, Ace Kimberly, called his brother Sunday afternoon, saying they were in 6-foot seas off the coast of Englewood.
That person was recovered by the helicopter and transported to local authorities so they can make positive identification.
The Coast Guard will search throughout the night for the 3 family members still missing. And Bob, what a tragic story.
Yes, it certainly is, Alan, and it can come on you fast here in the Gulf of Mexico, especially when you have these storms around in the afternoon and evening. And over the weekend, we did have that front move through, which kind of picked the winds up and caused those seas to get a little high. We are looking at different conditions. Once again, that dry air that was around for the past couple of days has now moved out of here for the most part. So showers and storms are once again in the forecast. You can see that from the Lakewood Ranch webcam, showing some clouds and showers occasionally. Not everyone getting the rainfall. There's still some out there, too. And we're going to see those progress to the west throughout the evening hours. Not as everyone's going to get the rains, like I said, but we will see some showers around. You can see that entering into Northport and Port Charlotte right now, some moderate rainfall there. Storms haven't been all that heavy, but they have been producing some moderate rainfall at times. And you can see some rain in eastern sections of Sarasota County. A light rain shower right there just to the west of Lakewood Ranch near Palmyra. Currently, the high temperature today was 90. 74 was the morning low. Those two numbers close to average for this time of year. 87 degrees. The current temperature, dew point now way up there at 73 degrees. So yes, the humidity is on its way back here, and that means a good chance for showers and thunderstorms over the upcoming afternoon and evening hours. Let's get a look at the forecast for boaters. Southeast winds tomorrow turn to the west at 5 knots. A light chop in the bays and inland waters, and the UV index will be a 10 out of a scale of 1 to 10. And the extended forecast calling for a good chance for those afternoon and evening storms. Yes, the summer pattern is now in full swing.
I can't wait.
Yeah, right.
Thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, issues with public housing in Sarasota. One resident believes her health problems are from the poor conditions of her home. Why the Sarasota Housing Authority says it has limited options to fix these problems.
ABC 7 News at 7 weeknights.
We've been slow smoking over oak for more than 45 years. And while sticking to tried and true traditions is kind of our thing, it doesn't hurt to throw something new in the smoker every now and then. Come get some slow smoked chicken wings at Sonny's Barbecue. Order them as an appetizer or as part of a combo with pork, baby back ribs, or both, starting at $10.99. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
Call right now to get your free Senior Care Compass ebook. Find out about the 5 best-kept secrets on financing senior care and assisted living.
Call now, 800-290-0352. 800-290-0352.
Imagine you are a single parent working 2 jobs, and you're not only struggling to build a better life for you and your children, you are doing so in a mold-infested home. How and why? Bobeth Yates is here to explain. Bobeth.
Well, Alan, the property I went into was filled with mold, and the air quality was so bad that it was difficult for me to breathe. And the resident says she's had to endure those conditions for years.
Okay. That's why all the mold.
Vernice Harris gave us a tour of her home. It's public housing off 24th Street in North Sarasota. She's a single mom with 4 kids. She works 2 jobs, but she can only afford to live in this home filled with mold. It's on the baseboard, the window frames, and even the walls.
That's why I got this picture here, because look at this wall. I don't know, just make me in tears to look at this.
Harris believes the dark spots now peering through the wall is mold growing underneath layers of paint. In every room, there was some sign of growing mold, some obvious and others just tiny spots.
We started getting sick off of this stuff, and there's no one doing anything about it.
Harris has lived in her unit for years and says the entire time mold has been a constant battle. She was recently admitted into the hospital with shortness of breath. Her son has also developed breathing problems and is constantly having nosebleeds.
Don't even know how my health is. Breathing is all in this all the time, you know? It comes and go, comes and go. I can cry, I can just break down and cry because I feel like it's nothing else I can do.
Over the years, Harris has made multiple complaints to Housing Authority management, and they've come out to clean several times. In this picture taken about 3 months ago, you see one of the areas of concern. The mold was cleaned and painted over by Housing Authority officials, but the area now looks like this. Allergist Dr. Hugh Wyndham says breathing in mold can cause major health problems.
So there's both allergic reactions to mold and there's toxic exposures to mold. Toxic would be the high levels that you're exposed to in some abnormal environment. And that can cause respiratory problems as mold gets into your respiratory tract.
While Wyndham says mold respiratory infections are rare, the impact can be extreme.
If it's an allergy, it'll get better. It's like removing a cat from home. So if you can reduce that mold exposure, the allergy part will get better. The toxic effect, it can be a little different. Once you've had the toxic problem, that may lead into more of a chronic disease state. People can cough, have breathing problems, can affect the sinuses as well.
Despite the major health concerns, it is not uncommon for the Public Housing Authority facilities to battle mold. Sarasota Housing Authority President William Russell says he is constantly having to address these kinds of maintenance issues.
Our properties are like 80, 70, and 60 years old here. So we have really old apartments that have been, you know, they've seen a lot of wear and tear over the years.
Russell says the age of their buildings result in all types of obstacles. In addition to wear and tear, the Housing Authority is funded by the federal government, and the appropriations have been on a steady decline.
Over the last 10 years, the capital grants that we get to modernize our units, you know, replace kitchens, windows, doors, bathrooms, that funding is pretty much at its lowest point in a long time.
In addition to low funding, Russell says when tenants like Harris have concerns, the high demand for their units limit the options for relocating residents.
So right now we have about 700 people on our waiting list, and it's been closed for a while. And we only have 260 apartments here. So, and some of those units, you know, don't turn over very frequently.
In addition to high demand, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development policies mandate his agency must house 7 residents for every 1 transfer they make, which leaves people like Harris, who can't afford to move out of subsidized housing, stuck between a rock and a hard place.
I want something better for me and my kids. And, you know, the more I think about it, it just brings tears to my eyes. It really does, because I know that I'm really not able to just like step out there and find something better.
Now, since conducting the interviews for this story, the Sarasota Housing Authority has hired a company to professionally remove and mitigate the mold. They've also provided the homeowner with information on what she can do to help control the growth of mold in her unit.
Barbara, thank you. And in a moment, our roundtable.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, because Sarasota Ford guarantees you our lowest price on every new Ford every day. Save on America's best-selling truck, 39 years running, the Ford F-150. Fusions, Escapes, over 800 vehicles on-site or online, all on sale. Buy with 0% for 60 months. And now, get up to $2,000 trade assistance. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
US Med has great news for anyone living with diabetes.
If you have Medicare, private insurance, or prescription drug coverage, US Med will ship a new glucose meter right to your home.
And shipping is free.
My new meter uses only a speck of blood, so it's less painful than my previous meter.
If you have Medicare, private insurance, or prescription drug coverage, you're covered with US Med. We're welcoming new patients, even if your current provider can't supply you anymore.
I don't even have to test on my fingers anymore. I can test on my hand or forearms, and it's more accurate than my old meter.
So call US Med today, and you'll have a choice of 2 great meters.
One that actually speaks your results, or a meter so small it fits on the bottle of strips.
Act now, and US Med will include a free prescription discount card.
We'll also send you a free diabetes cookbook. This is your opportunity.
So call US Med today.
You'll be glad you did.
Batteries Plus bulbs keep stacks of batteries for cars, cell phones, watches, plus light bulbs for lamps, can lights, and appliances right on hand. Did I mention we also repair smartphones? Batteries Plus bulbs. Trust the plus. Visit Batteries Plus bulbs today.
And joining us with more on tonight's topic is David Morgan, the chairman of Sarasota's Housing Authority, and former Sarasota Mayor Fred Atkins. Thank you both for being here, and I can't tell you how angry I am at this story. You know, the Venice Library was recently closed down because of concerns about mold, and here we have another situation in actual housing, and people are breathing this in and getting sick, and the obvious question is that these buildings are decades and decades old. I would assume nothing could be permanently fixed. They should be replaced. What's the problem?
I think you're right. We have properties there between 50 and 75 years old. And right now we're looking to try to, like we did with Janie's Garden, where we were able to get some of the tax credit, which comes through the state for the funding, and able to transform that area. So that's something we're trying to do with those properties.
Let's break it down a little bit. Bobeth said in her story this is a federal program, so is it solely the responsibility of increased funding from the federal government that's needed?
So right now, public housing has about a $36 billion backlog in capital fund improvements that they need to do, and that's across the United States. And so I think even at the federal level, they're really struggling to find a solution to a lot of the problem, because what we see here is something that I've seen all across the United States.
And but the other component is state funding?
So there's a program, and it comes from the feds, and it's called the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program, and that's what transformed Janie's Garden. So we had phase 1 and phase 2. So that money comes from the feds, and it comes down to the state, and then the state allocates it throughout the state. And so the city of Sarasota is competing with every city in the state of Florida for these funds.
And how, in terms of state funding, how have the funding levels gone up or gone down in recent memory?
This last round, they actually went up a little bit. So there's something called the Sadowski Fund, and our state organization was really instrumental in getting those funds increased.
But obviously not enough money to replace the housing.
Not $36 billion, that's for sure.
Mayor, you know what occurred to me?
What's that?
You could be penny wise and pound foolish, because if these people are getting sick, it is going to be taxpayers who are going to be paying their medical bills.
Yes, we are. And part of the problem is that not only is it a federal and state concern, the cities and counties of the state of Florida also can participate in those applications for those funds. The reason why Janie's Gardens was come to fruition was because the city and the county of Sarasota got together and decided that they wanted to make it happen because of the same reasons that the older facilities are going through. Janie Poe just had to go. It was just so decrepit and such in bad health state that there was no way that the city could justify allowing people to live there. Inspections, code enforcement can force public housing to do something about that situation there and in other buildings.
I would imagine if a health inspector went into some of these units, they might be under some obligation to close them down.
Somebody is responsible. There is no reason for us to sit here and look like a Flint, Michigan in one house in public housing, because that's not the only place that's old. You know, we got 75 and 80-year-old buildings all out through each section, and 60 and 50-year-old buildings also.
You know, I can almost anticipate what some of the folks who are watching this right now are saying. You know, my parents didn't make much money, but they raised 5 children. If these people want to live in subsidized housing, they should be getting a job and working to get themselves out of that. The woman in Bobeth's story is a single parent working 2 jobs. Yes. And I would imagine if you're going to lift your family out of that kind of situation, you're going to be somewhat handicapped if you're always sick because of the mold conditions in the home.
One of the things that they're doing here, that the federal government's doing, is called affirmatively furthering fair housing. And to really break the cycle of poverty, it takes a village. So you need the school board, you need the housing authority, you need cities, and you need counties. And they're really taking this multi-agency approach to start getting support for the families that they need.
Are we doing that effectively right now?
There are some places, you know, some of the successes that we've had with the city, or with the city, with even our early childhood reading. We just actually got a best practices commendation recognized by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. We actually have a program with the school board and with the Community Foundation, where we're taking mothers, and with Alta Vista, where they can take their kids to school and they're learning to be nurses, and they wind up being nurses aid, and we've actually had some graduates, and some of them are our residents. So it can't be just done with one agency. It's going to take everybody to really break this cycle.
Let's just be clear about something here. Some of the video that we saw in Bo Beth's story, can mold really be remediated to a degree that it would be, these units can be safe?
Remediation of mold is a temporary effect at best. And you can see it's only last 2-3 months in that building because it's in such bad shape. The cracks in that wall, and you see how many times that the housing authorities put paint over it, I mean thick paint, to try to cover it up and seal it up. But that family, I know that family, I know Vernice, and she's really been trying to make this thing work for her and her family, but she just can't make enough money because of the very thing that we are dealing with. And the state of Florida froze a lot of the funds from the Sadowski Act to come down to affordable housing, and they just started increasing it in small increments when they were basically freezing that money and using it in the regular budget.
Fred, what would you say to people who we often hear from saying, I simply don't want to pay more in taxes. I pay enough, I pay more than enough.
Those persons need to understand that they're going to pay it one way or the other. If we allow sick families to live in dilapidated housing, they are going to be going to the emergency room as indigents. We pay those bills too. If we take care of babies and infants, they will be less sick as a 5 and an 8 and a 12-year-old. So we have to understand that the sooner we start taking care of the least of these, the better off all of us will be.
David, we only have a few seconds left, but can the Housing Authority do anything in the short term to make this a better situation?
We've hired a contractor, and we're going in there to see what we can do. And in the long term, we're going to try to replace this housing.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in tonight, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Is your mop a dirty, disgusting mess? You need the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System, the only mop and bucket that spins the dirt away. A system that cleans practically anything and everything with super absorbent microfiber. Dip it in the washer side and the mess releases into the bucket. Then place it in the dryer side and push on the pedal. You get a clean mop pad that's practically dry and ready for more. And your hands will never again touch a dirty, disgusting mop. The heads are washable and reusable. Get the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System for just 2 payments of $19.99. You'll also get a Sticky Buddy, the reusable sticky roller that picks up pet hair and lint and washes clean in seconds. You can take advantage of our 2-for-1 Pick It Up special and get a second spin mop set. Just pay additional shipping and fee. And we'll upgrade you to free priority handling. So don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-394-1524 to get your Hurricane Spin Mop double offer. So hurry and call 1-800-394-1524. Call now.
Whether you're a homeowner looking for a professional installation or a contractor looking for top quality products, Sarasota Glass and Mirror can meet your every need.
For 42 years, Sarasota Glass and Mirror has been the area's premier supplier and installer of quality glass products for your home or business. As an authorized PGT WinGuard dealer, we know how to protect your home with everything from the PGT WinGuard impact-resistant windows and doors to shower enclosures and decorative mirrors. The Sarasota Glass and Mirror team has the knowledge to tackle any project.
Attention! This is an important message for anyone who had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to their heart or lungs. Did your IVC filter move, break, or cause organ damage? The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, even death. If you or a loved one suffered serious complications, call IVC Filter Helpline now. You may be entitled to compensation. IVC filters are designed to prevent blood clots. If your IVC filter moved or broke and you suffered heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, or if a loved one died as a result, call IVC Filter Helpline today. today. Our network of experienced attorneys is ready to fight for you. You'll pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. Call today for a free confidential consultation. Don't fight this alone. Call IVC Filter Helpline now.
Please call 800-897-6764. That is 800-897-6764.
Welcome back. Today we told you about Senator Marco Rubio's plans to run for re-election to his Florida Senate seat. This comes just 2 days before the state filing deadline. We asked you what you thought, and it appears that the senator has a lot of work to do. Ellen McLeach-Bowman says that does not seem to be fair. He gave up and showed no interest while campaigning for president. Kevin Chrysler writes, let's hope he does as well as he did in the Florida presidential primary. John Woodward says guys like Fred Thompson kept their word. 2 terms was it. Sometimes you end up on the short end by making a promise, but keeping your word is something that has little meaning and is part of what is wrong. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news at 7. And that is all the time we have for this evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Alan Cohn. Have a good night.